Queen Camilla, fear for her career after one of royal aides, reported what she's been doing behind closed doors to them, while no one is around to supervise. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. The public eye rarely sees the effort behind perfection. For Queen Camilla, every appearance is the culmination of years of understanding protocol, mastering etiquette, and learning the subtle art of projection. When she steps out in front of cameras, attending charitable events, royal ceremonies, or state functions, the image presented is one of unshakable poise. Every smile is timed, every gesture considered, and every interaction with the public carefully choreographed. But what the world sees is only the surface, a polished facade that conceals the immense pressure that lies beneath. Camilla has spent decades learning to navigate the intricacies of royal life. And like many who are thrust into public attention unprepared, she approached her role with meticulous planning and a keen sense of observation. She studied the rhythms of the monarchy, watched the behavior of other royals, and gradually cultivated an understanding of what it means to maintain influence while under constant scrutiny. Yet, even with such preparation, perfection is never guaranteed. The palace is an unforgiving environment where even the smallest misstep can have cascading consequences, and the expectation to maintain composure at all times is relentless. Every public engagement is more than just a ceremonial obligation. It is a test of perception. How she is photographed, how her interactions are interpreted, and even the color of her attire are all analyzed by critics, commentators, and the public. A smile in one moment can be celebrated as warmth, while the slightest hesitation can be dissected as uncertainty or vulnerability. Camilla understands these dynamics better than most. She knows that perception can be as powerful as reality, that the image she projects can influence the way she is remembered, and that every appearance is an opportunity to solidify her role within the monarchy. But beneath the polished surface, a different narrative exists. The constant awareness of being watched creates an underlying tension that never fully dissipates. Camilla moves through her days with the knowledge that aides, courtiers, and staff are always present, observing, taking notes, and reporting back to those in power. Even in moments of privacy, the possibility of being monitored lingers. This dual existence, public composure and private vigilance, shapes not only her behavior, but her emotional state. The pressure to maintain perfection is exhausting, and the fear of exposure is a shadow that follows her through every engagement. It is this dichotomy between appearance and reality that makes the Queen's position so precarious. To the outside observer, she may seem serene and confident, but internally, every decision carries weight. Choosing how to respond to a question, determining how long to linger in conversation, even the manner in which she adjusts her attire, are all actions performed with calculated precision. The effort to maintain this balance is constant and unrelenting. Mistakes are not merely personal. They have the potential to ripple outward, affecting her standing within the palace, her influence over the monarchy, and the perception of her role by the public. Camilla's understanding of image management extends beyond superficial appearances. She recognizes the importance of narrative, of controlling the story that is told about her. Public engagements are opportunities to reinforce her position, to showcase her commitment to the royal family, and to demonstrate her capacity for leadership. Yet, she must also navigate the unspoken rules of palace conduct, the expectations of those around her, and the judgments of a global audience. Each interaction is a careful balancing act, a negotiation between authenticity and strategy, between personal expression and institutional expectation. The palace itself amplifies this pressure. Its architecture, history, and traditions create an environment where actions carry symbolic weight. A nod, a glance, or even the timing of a step can be imbued with meaning beyond intention. Camilla operates within this context with acute awareness. She is constantly reading not only the responses of those around her, but also the potential interpretations of observers who will never see the full context. The act of being perpetually observed, even in small ways, requires a level of discipline and emotional resilience that few outside the royal circle can fully comprehend. Yet, this perfection is not without cost. The constant self-monitoring, the careful calculation of every action, and the unrelenting vigilance take a toll on her mental and emotional well-being. There are moments of fatigue, flashes of frustration, and the inevitable human desire for spontaneity that cannot be fully indulged. But in the environment of the monarchy, indulgence is rarely permissible. Emotional displays must be measured, reactions controlled, and personal desires subordinated to public expectation. The palace does not reward vulnerability. It punishes it subtly but persistently. Camilla's journey to mastering this public image has been shaped by experience, observation, and necessity. She has learned to anticipate scrutiny, to preempt criticism, and to navigate the complex web of palace politics with strategic foresight. But the challenge lies not only in projecting confidence, but also in managing the unseen forces that operate behind closed doors. The reports filed by aides, the whispers among staff, and the hidden observations of those with access to her private moments introduce an element of unpredictability. The knowledge that someone may be recording or interpreting her actions adds a layer of tension to every engagement, reinforcing the fragile nature of the image she projects. The contrast between public perception and private reality is stark. Camilla's composed exterior masks a constant awareness of surveillance and judgment. Her career, reputation, and influence are intertwined with the narratives constructed by both public and private observers. The pressure to maintain perfection is not just professional, it is existential. It defines her role, her relationships within the royal family, and her sense of personal identity. The challenge is to project unwavering strength while managing the subtle anxieties that accompany life in such a scrutinized environment. In many ways, the palace acts as both stage and cage. Camilla's every move is performed for an audience that spans the globe. Yet, she must do so within the constraints of an institution, steeped in tradition, hierarchy, and expectation. The perfection demanded of her is not merely aesthetic. It is symbolic, reinforcing her authority, her legitimacy, and her place within the monarchy. Any deviation, whether intentional or accidental, has the potential to undermine this carefully constructed authority. The Queen's awareness of this dynamic informs her interactions with others. She is cautious in conversation, measured in tone, and deliberate in gesture. Every engagement is an exercise in diplomacy, requiring attentiveness, emotional intelligence, and strategic calculation. Yet, even with such meticulous preparation, the possibility of misinterpretation or observation adds a layer of complexity that cannot be ignored. The aide who reports her actions is part of this intricate ecosystem, a silent witness whose observations have the power to influence outcomes in ways that are not always visible. Despite these pressures, Camilla has maintained her role with remarkable resilience. She has navigated public criticism, internal palace politics, and personal challenges with a steady hand. Her ability to project confidence and authority is a testament to her understanding of the demands of her position and her capacity to manage them. Yet, the presence of reports detailing her private behavior introduces a new dimension of vulnerability. It is a reminder that in the palace, even those closest to you can hold power over your image and your career. As this chapter of her life unfolds, the tension between the public image and private reality remains central. Camilla's journey is one of constant negotiation, balancing the demands of tradition, the scrutiny of the public, and the dynamics of those within her immediate circle. The perfection she projects is not an illusion. It is the product of strategic effort, emotional discipline, and an acute awareness of the stakes involved. But it is also fragile, vulnerable to the observations, interpretations, and reports of those who operate behind the scenes. In understanding Camilla's world, it becomes clear that perfection is not merely about appearances, it is about survival. Each public engagement, each private moment, each interaction within the palace contributes to a narrative that defines her authority, her influence, and her legacy. The pressures she faces are immense, shaped by both historical precedent and contemporary scrutiny. And within this environment, the Queen must navigate not only the expectations of the public, but also the unseen forces of observation that exist behind every closed door. Her life is a study in contrasts. The polished exterior versus the private tension, the carefully curated image versus the realities of surveillance, and the perception of unshakable composure versus the internal awareness of vulnerability. Camilla's mastery of her public persona is remarkable. Yet, the presence of aides who report on her behavior serves as a constant reminder that perfection is both demanded and fragile. It is this delicate balance that defines her role, shapes her experiences, and sets the stage for the challenges that lie ahead. The palace is more than a residence. It is a living, breathing ecosystem. Marble floors echo with footsteps that carry secrets. Hallways hold whispers that slip from room to room, and doors, though closed, never fully conceal the movements or intentions of those inside. To the untrained eye, the palace appears as a monument to tradition and elegance, a place where the royal family lives and works in harmony with history. But to those who know its inner workings, it is a labyrinth of power, protocol, and subtle surveillance. Every hallway has a rhythm, every room has rules, and every interaction carries consequences that ripple far beyond its immediate context. Camilla walks these halls with the awareness of someone who understands the stakes. She knows the palace is not just a backdrop. It is an active participant in her life. The very architecture enforces hierarchy. Grand staircases remind visitors and staff alike of their place. Dining halls, long and echoing, become stages for observation, where conversation can be overheard and gestures noted. Even the placement of furniture signals authority and expectation. Within this intricate environment, Camilla must operate with precision, knowing that every action, intentional or unintentional, is observed, interpreted, and potentially reported. The palace staff forms the unseen framework that supports and occasionally challenges her every move. Aides, housekeepers, security personnel, and advisors work behind the scenes, ensuring that life within the palace functions smoothly. Yet their proximity to the royal family also gives them unprecedented insight into private moments. These are professionals bound by duty, but they are also human, and humans observe, form opinions, and communicate. What is intended as operational efficiency can easily become a channel for rumor or surveillance. The reports filed by aides, whether formal or informal, are often highly detailed, capturing nuances that the casual observer would miss. For Camilla, this means that even moments she believes are private may not be entirely hidden. Hierarchy is a defining feature of the palace. Roles are rigid, responsibilities are clearly delineated, and loyalty is paramount. But hierarchy also creates friction. Staff must navigate complex interpersonal dynamics while maintaining discretion. Tensions inevitably arise. A disagreement over protocol, a misinterpreted comment, or a perceived slight can become the seed for conflict. Within this structure, aides who observe the Queen's private behavior hold a quiet form of power. Their interpretations and reports can shape perceptions of competence, influence, and even character. Camilla is aware of this power, and it shapes the way she moves through her daily routines. The palace also functions as a site of constant observation. Surveillance here is not limited to modern technology, though cameras and security systems play a role. Observation is woven into the culture itself. Courtiers and staff are trained to notice inconsistencies, shifts in mood, and deviations from protocol. They are the eyes and ears of the institution, ensuring that traditions are upheld and that the monarchy's image remains intact. To Camilla, this means living with an ever-present awareness that she is being watched not only by the public, but by those closest to her. Every word spoken, every gesture made is potentially a day, a point in the quiet ledger of palace life. It is within this environment that the aides' reports take on particular significance. These documents are not casual notes. They are structured, detailed accounts of what the Queen has done in moments that are supposed to be private. They record behavior, decisions, and interactions in a manner that could influence perceptions of her judgment and character. For Camilla, knowing that such reports exist as a source of stress and vigilance, she must constantly evaluate her actions, considering not only how they appear publicly, but also how they may be interpreted internally by those who have access to these observations. The palace's culture of observation is both protective and constraining. On one hand, it ensures that the royal family and its household operate efficiently, maintaining decorum and preserving centuries of tradition. On the other hand, it creates an environment where privacy is fragile and vulnerability is amplified. Camilla's experience highlights this duality. She benefits from the support and expertise of her staff. Yet, she is also aware that the same individuals hold the capacity to scrutinize and record her every move. The balance between trust and caution is delicate, and miscalculations can have significant consequences. Staff dynamics within the palace are complex. Long-standing hierarchies and personal relationships intersect with professional responsibilities. Some aides have served multiple generations of royals, carrying institutional knowledge and influence that is not formally codified. Others are newer, ambitious, and eager to establish themselves within the inner circle. These dynamics create a subtle but powerful form of tension. Observations made by aides are influenced not only by what they see, but also by their own motivations, loyalties, and interpretations. Camilla must navigate this intricate social web, aware that perception can shape reality in ways that formal protocols cannot control. The act of reporting private behavior is a form of power. It is a reminder that in the palace, knowledge equates to influence. When an aide documents Camilla's actions, they are not merely recording events. They are shaping a narrative that could affect her authority, reputation, and career. The Queen is acutely aware of this dynamic. Her understanding of palace politics is informed by history, by observation, and by the recognition that even minor incidents can become pivotal moments in a broader story. This awareness informs how she interacts with staff, how she structures her day, and how she manages both public and private appearances. Isolation is another element of palace life that magnifies the stakes of observation. Despite being surrounded by staff, advisors, and family, Camilla experiences a profound sense of solitude. The very individuals tasked with supporting her are also the ones observing her most closely. Moments of genuine privacy are rare, and the knowledge that any misstep could be documented creates a constant undercurrent of anxiety. This isolation is not physical, but psychological, arising from the awareness that trust is never absolute and that her behavior is perpetually subject to scrutiny. The intersection of personal and professional life within the palace is another source of tension. Camilla's role as queen encompasses ceremonial duties, charitable work, family obligations, and public appearances. Each of these spheres requires different skills, behavior, and demeanor. Yet, the boundaries between them are porous. A lapse in one area, or a behavior perceived as inappropriate behind closed doors, can affect perceptions across all areas of her life. The aide's reports exemplify this interconnectedness. They transform seemingly private actions into factors that influence her overall standing within the institution, creating a feedback loop that demands constant vigilance and adaptability. Trust, therefore, becomes a central concern. Camilla must constantly evaluate the reliability and intentions of those around her. While aides are bound by duty and discretion, the power inherent in their knowledge cannot be ignored. Even the most loyal staff members carry the capacity to influence her narrative intentionally or unintentionally. This awareness shapes how she communicates, how she delegates tasks, and how she engages with those closest to her. It is a continuous negotiation, balancing the need for support with the recognition of potential vulnerability. Historical precedent adds another layer of pressure. Monarchs and queens throughout history have experienced the consequences of internal observations and betrayals. The palace is filled with stories of advisors whose notes, whispers, or reports shifted the trajectory of royal careers. Camilla is acutely aware of these examples. They serve both as cautionary tales and as guides, illustrating the importance of vigilance, strategy, and careful management of relationships. The weight of history compounds the already significant pressure of daily life within the palace, making the presence of an observing aide a matter of serious concern. Even routine moments are affected by this environment. A conversation in a sitting room, a private meal, or a casual walk through the gardens is filtered through awareness of observation. Camilla's actions are no longer simply personal. They are potentially recorded, interpreted, and relayed. The palace becomes a stage where private behavior carries public significance. The aide's role in documenting these moments transforms routine experiences into pivotal events that shape the narrative of her queenship. Camilla's understanding of the palace as both a home and an institution informs her strategies. She approaches interactions with staff and advisors with careful calculation, recognizing the subtle power dynamics at play. At the same time, she must maintain warmth, accessibility, and authenticity to fulfill her duties effectively. Balancing these demands is a constant challenge requiring emotional intelligence, patience, and strategic foresight. The presence of reports detailing her private behavior heightens this challenge, reminding her that perception is never fully under her control. The palace, in essence, is a microcosm of power. Its walls, traditions, and staff create a system where visibility and influence are tightly intertwined. Camilla navigates this system with skill. Yet, the act of observation by aides introduces an element of unpredictability. Every gesture, word, and decision can be recorded, interpreted, and potentially used to shape perceptions of her character, judgment, and authority. This reality demands constant vigilance and a sophisticated understanding of both human behavior and institutional dynamics. In the corridors of the palace, every footstep echoes with consequence. Every glance carries meaning. Camilla's life within these walls is a study in contrasts, grandeur and constraint, visibility and surveillance, authority and vulnerability. The aide's reports exemplify the delicate balance she must maintain, a balance that requires perpetual awareness, strategic thinking, and emotional resilience. Behind the palace doors, perfection is not simply an aspiration. It is a requirement for survival, and even the most disciplined effort